During the COVID lockdowns, I loved walking through the forest near my house with my dog. A peaceful escape where social distancing wasn't even a thought. One sunny afternoon, I decided to go rock hunting alone while my dog stayed home. The walk to the forest took about 30 minutes, music in my ears, mind at ease. Once I reached my usual quiet spot, I sat down to soak in the silence until that eerie feeling hit me. The one where you just know you're being watched. I looked around. Nothing. Just trees, dirt, and the whisper of wind. Shaking it off, I went deeper into the woods. But that uneasy feeling crept back, stronger this time. I pulled out my AirPods, stuffing them into my pocket to listen for anything out of place. Everything sounded normal. Birds chirping, leaves rustling, until it suddenly didn't. The forest went silent. I decided to head back, finding a couple of rocks along the way to justify the trip. Then I heard it, a branch snapping behind me. My heart dropped. I didn't dare look, just pretended to call someone, hoping whoever might be there would think I wasn't alone. My phone had no signal, so I faked a cheerful conversation while speeding up my pace. For a moment, the forest seemed normal again, until I realized the footsteps behind me matched mine perfectly. Every step, every pause. My stomach turned cold. I was only 10 minutes from the exit, still without signal, so I pretended to take a selfie to see behind me, but I froze before I could. Then, suddenly, my phone lit up with bars. I FaceTimed my friend, praying she'd answer. She didn't. The unanswered ring echoed in the air, followed by a chuckle behind me. Goosebumps shot up my spine. I sped up, heart pounding, until I finally turned around and saw him. A tall man in a black hoodie, dark joggers, and a backpack, staring back at me with the same shocked expression I had. Then he stepped toward me. I bolted. Branches whipped past as I tore through a different path home, hearing his footsteps stumble, giving me just enough time to escape. Later, I learned I wasn't the only one. Other girls had the same story, the same woods, the same man, never caught. This night still haunts me. I had spent the whole day hiking and thoroughly enjoyed myself. By the time I reached my predetermined camp spot off the trail, I was ready to settle in. I set up my tent, had dinner over my stove, and tucked myself in for bed. I woke up in the middle of the night, startled. At first, unsure if I had woken up randomly. I lay there in the dark, my eyes wide open, listening. At first, I didn't hear anything, but then I heard the unmistakable sound of a twig snapping, not far from my tent. I didn't panic immediately, assuming it was probably a deer or a raccoon. I considered making a noise to scare it off, but before I had the chance, I heard two distinct steps pressing down on the pine needles and twigs. My heart skipped a beat. It sounded like a person walking. Now, mind you, I was off the trail in an area where I hadn't seen anyone the entire day. I reached for my buck knife, which was resting beside me, and held it tightly in my hand. I listened intently as the footsteps drew nearer to my tent but never quite reached it. Then, everything stopped. My fear intensified, but I forced myself to remain completely still, trying to hold my breath. I didn't want to make any noise, even though every fiber of my being screamed to yell out. And then, my worst fear was confirmed. The thing outside my tent began to hum in a low, guttural tone. It was undeniably human. My grip tightened around my knife as I prepared for whatever might come next. The humming continued, and I stayed silent, hoping beyond hope that it would leave. The seconds felt like hours. Finally, the humming stopped, and I heard footsteps moving away from the tent. But just as I thought it was over, I heard a sharp scratching sound on one of the trees near my campsite. It was followed by a sudden chaotic dash as whatever it was ran off, breaking branches and scattering pine needles all around. I didn't sleep another second that night. I clutched my knife in the dark, trying to calm my racing heart. As soon as dawn broke, I wasted no time. I packed up my camp in a hurry, constantly scanning the area, ready to bolt at the first sign of trouble. By noon, I was at the dirt road, breathless and exhausted. I called my family to pick me up, and when they arrived, I recounted everything that had happened. I still haven't gone back to that trail. The whole experience still feels surreal, and I made the difficult choice not to report it to the authorities. I couldn't point to anyone or anything specific, and admitting to camping illegally would have brought its own consequences. To this day, I can't shake the feeling that something was out there that night. Something I might never fully understand.
It was our second night at the campground, and our friends had decided to stay on the site next to ours. The land was owned by a Native American family, and they shared some incredibly fascinating details about their family history. They spoke of how generations of their ancestors had been buried on this very land. They told stories of their heritage, of sacred rituals, and their deep connection to the earth. The way they spoke made the air feel heavy, charged with a kind of reverence for the land beneath our feet. I couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the place than just the beauty of nature. That night, as I lay in the tent with my boyfriend, I woke up to his voice cutting through the darkness. "It's okay, it's just the wind," he said, his tone trying to reassure me. But there was something in his voice that felt off, something that made my stomach drop. I was still groggy, my senses slow to catch up, but as I became fully awake, I understood why he sounded so uneasy. The wind was howling like a beast, fierce and unrelenting. Our tent, perched high atop a jeep, shook violently with each gust, as if it could be torn away at any moment. The wind had a life of its own, twisting, screaming, battering us, and the whole world outside felt like it was about to collapse. Montana's weather is infamous for being wild, but this felt like something more than just a storm. The tent creaked and groaned under the force of it. My heart pounded in my chest, and I could feel my anxiety rising with every gust of wind. I turned to my boyfriend, asking how long he'd been awake. His answer sent a chill through me. "A while," he said quietly. "Something spooked me." I sat up, suddenly alert, my mind racing with possibilities. "What do you mean?" I asked. He hesitated, then told me about what had happened earlier. He'd been lying there, trying to fall asleep when he heard footsteps outside the tent. Tiny, light footsteps, like a child running back and forth in the dark. He said he figured it was just some animal at first, maybe a raccoon or something, but when the footsteps came back again, it was different. This time, the sound of something climbing the ladder to our tent sent a jolt of fear through him. We had a special setup. Our tent was attached to the back of our truck, so when someone climbs the ladder, you can feel it. The weight shifts. The movement is unmistakable. He told me that as soon as he felt the shift in weight, he snapped, "Hello." His voice was sharp, firm, and when the words left his mouth, the footsteps stopped. There was a brief silence, and then the sound of something scurrying off into the night, disappearing into the dark. My heart raced as he told me this, the hair on my neck standing up as I tried to reason through what he was describing. I suggested it could have been an animal, maybe a small one like a raccoon or even a bird, but deep down I knew it was. My body felt cold, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever it wasn't natural. We lay there for what felt like hours, both of us too restless to sleep, the wind still howling around us. The night felt heavy, oppressive, as if something was watching us, waiting. Neither of us could shake the feeling that we weren't alone. When morning finally came, the storm had passed, but the unease lingered in the air. We stumbled out of the tent, exhausted, our nerves still frayed. We made our way to the campfire to join our friends, eager to see how they'd slept. Most of them looked fine, a little tired, but nothing out of the ordinary. One of our friends, however, seemed a bit more frazzled than the rest. He and his girlfriend were standing by the fire, and when we asked how they had slept, he nervously chuckled. Well, he said, except for his girlfriend freaking herself out. She probably just had a nightmare or something. I was immediately intrigued. What happened? I asked, my curiosity piqued. His girlfriend, looking pale and shaken, turned to me and said, I swear to God, I heard footsteps outside our tent. They were going back and forth, slow at first, then faster. Then everything went quiet. And then the zipper started moving. I thought it was just the wind, but then it kept going and I finally shouted, Who's there? Her voice trembled as she spoke, her eyes wide with fear. My boyfriend and I exchanged a glance, and I could feel my heart skip a beat. We hadn't told them anything about what had happened to us the night before, but her description was eerily similar to what we had experienced. The footsteps, the zipper, the sense of being watched. It was all too much of a coincidence. What time was this? I asked, barely able to contain my rising dread. After a brief silence, they said they hadn't heard anything from us, but the timeline matched up perfectly.